What's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and this is Deep Astrology, your weekly astrology forecast for the week of December 2nd through the 8th of 2020. Now, normally I would like to say, what's going on, everyone, but I feel that that is a bigger question than normal. This is the show that's exclusive to highvibe.tv. Make sure that you are a member. I did put it free last week so people could see how this show works. We just did do an awesome Cyber Monday and Black Friday, and for those that joined, truly appreciate it. But for those out there that still want to join, make sure that you join so you get this show where you can watch it live, but of course watch it with the charts, because halfway through this show, when I go into the charts, it does turn to audio. And we have so many other awesome shows at highvibe.tv, but I'm sure that you can even just feel in the tone of my voice as I'm being real with you, there's definitely something in the air. And this week we're going to cover what that is. There's a lot of hidden astrology aspects here that many aren't going to cover. And tonight I am going to cover that. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching it as a premiere. It is not a live. I always have to go in and you wonder why I'm late. The amount of people that I have to tell in YouTube chat that I'm not live, that this is a premiere. I just want to remind you all that if you're watching on YouTube. But if those on High Vibe, if you wonder why it's always so late, these are gnarly times. And these are times that we all are just getting through that we can. And trying to be positive is, of course, the number one thing of the Sun in Sagittarius to be. And that's, if you understand the esoteric understanding of Sagittarius, that's because it is the last sign before the sun falls to its greatest fall when it comes into the winter, of course, of December 21st, which always brings in Capricorn, where we must rise and climb the hill again in life. And so it is about trying to be positive at the end of immutable energy, at the end of a season that represents the fall of the sun. And it's interesting with the South Node here, the things that bring us to positivity are opposite than Sag. It's Gemini, it's information, it's facts, it's stimulation, it's things that bring up more curiosity, more youthful energy. And, even though Sag has a positive outlook and a positive disposition, it is Gemini that is that force, that energy that has to find the other, that thinks like the other. And Sag is always the gurus that rule it. It's always the people that we idolize in life. And those are all falling away from the waysides. Now, what I want to bring up for this week that's so unique, because I can talk to you about Mercury, of course, and Sag and its detriment. I can talk to you about the moon and Virgo this week that's going to square the nodes, oppose Neptune, square the sun, and create a mutable cross that is definitely going to fracture our reality this week. But the biggest transit that I feel is happening, because it is going to be a transit we will never see again in our lives, and to be honest and frank with you, I have not spent the time, because I already know the math in which I'm going to have to do to look up the chart in the future for when the next time we'll see it. That would take me hours upon hours. That's how long it's going to take for this to happen in our lives again. And it's happening on Wednesday. It's happening on Thursday, where it's peaking out into Friday, which is the moon in Cancer, and its home sign is going to oppose Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn, as they're all three direct, and for the last time, too. But this is the last time that we are going to see the moon in its home sign oppose Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. This is the last time that we're going to especially see it with Saturn in its home sign and, of course, the moon in its home sign. But this is a major blow. I mean, it reminds me of basic astrology when you look at somebody's natal chart and you see the moon oppose Saturn. Or when you're going through in your life, Saturn opposing your moon. It's a very difficult transit to be born under. It's also a very difficult transit to go under. And it's a very difficult transit for us as a collective right now, with the moon in its home sign of Cancer opposing Saturn in its home sign, with the backup of Jupiter, which is in its fall, and Pluto, of course, which has been there since 2008 and has met with Jupiter 3 times this year, and has met with Saturn that hasn't happened since 1517 into 1518. And if you had Jupiter, which happened in our, I guess you could say, quote unquote, unluck of 2020 on January the 12th. So, this is now us in our personal lives having to face and look seriously at whether or not, we have the courage with the square to Mars that's happening on Thursday, with the trine to Venus in Scorpio that's happening on Thursday, to look at the truth, to look at the deep truth about what is trying to restrict you of your personal life. And some astrologers might put it out there as like, this is just a transit and that's what you're going to have to deal with. And you know what? I agree on some parts of that. But there's another part because Pluto's there. And there's another part that Jupiter and Saturn are on their way into Aquarius to the 0 degree, which I think a lot of people think is going to be just this beautiful, like, you know, revolutionary moment, which it will have its moments of that. But it's more about the revolution inside from things that are going to be taken away from your personal life, your personal feelings, or that you have felt so stripped away and that you're tired. And that, you know, the wholesomeness of feeling full and fulfilled and to feel life again is at its most daunting moment. And I do want to remind people that, as I talked about in Battle of the Gods, as I've talked about all year, that this Mars retrograde that happened this year hasn't happened since 1941 in the sign of Aries, where it actually retrograded in Aries and stationed direct back in Aries. This is the week where we are coming into the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, which was 1 month after Mars came direct in Aries in 41. And when you see these aspects like this in my head, as an astrologer, I just don't look at it like a chart, and I just don't look at it as, okay, these are the angles, and that's it, and blah-blah-blah. It's about history. It's about cycles. It's about patterns. It's about realizing, will this ever happen again? When is that next time? How rare is that? How long is the timing until these events will happen again? Because if you look at this week's astrology from most people's reports, they're going to talk a lot about Mercury. We could talk about it quincunxing Uranus. That there's going to be some shocking, weird things about your belief systems and your values. Uranus is the only planet that's retrograde. And so when we talk about innovation and we talk about it, the planet that rules Aquarius is Uranus. It's in Taurus, it's fall position, and it's retrograde, and it's stopped. So if you really think that Jupiter, Saturn coming into Aquarius is going to be the revolution of a lifetime and everything's going to get fixed in 1 minute and everything's going to be all hunky-dory and fine, I would think twice about that. Mathematically, astrologically, hermetically speaking, if I look at the truth. And I think that this week, this is about you having to erase these belief systems that have been injected into you from Neptunian energies, right? Media. Parts of our culture, that's what Sag deals with too. It's like there's a culture reprogramming going on in people of how to believe that the world and life should be. Imagine if you were somebody and you lived out in the middle of a boat right now in the last year, and you had no access to the radio, and you had Neptune originally ruled the radio. Just the same way that, I think it was H.G. Wells did, War of the Worlds in the 30s right there, and everybody believed it, and it was just a fictional story. People started flipping out. Ironically, it's when we found Pluto. But I just want to say that with Pluto here, and if you were out there in a boat and you didn't hear anything in the media, would you be living your life on that boat the same way that you'd be living in your life right now? Have the same belief system, have the same political ideologies, have the same... No. I'm sure there's people that are other parts of this world that don't even know what's going on right now. And I think that this is an important thing to realize is what we're injected with here is very connected to 2016 because, of course, that's when the South Node and Neptune met. And this week, the moon comes into Virgo after it does this horrible... I'm going to be honest. This is a horrible moon in Cancer. This is not fun. There's one trine, and it's to Venus and its detriment. And then there's the trine to Neptune. And so that grand trine is going to be going down minorly. And then the only thing that you can is your internal radar with it. Of where it feels like, that's going to feel good for you. And that's what Spirit's telling you to do. That doesn't come from a programmed place. Because you know what? There's going to be people who love to be the sheep right now. With all this Capricorn and almost like feel good with the sheep herder screaming down the other sheep that aren't following what you are doing as a sheep. And you're going to love that. That's what the moon and Cancer, trine Neptune of the programming, trine Venus and Scorpio and its detriment is. oh, I'm being a good sheep, but I'm watching the dictator, big sheep herder yelling at the sheep that aren't in line. I like it. I feel good. I'm a teacher's pet. Sag. I'm a teacher's pet. I'm going to just keep licking the butt of the teacher as much as I can, which is a false teacher. It's a false prophet that's taking away your personal life, that's taking away your beliefs that you're creating even from yourself or you're creating from the divine, that's coming from another source, and that's trying to give you all this information that seems like it is the most truth when it's anything but. Because you have no way for yourself to go verify it. You have to verify truth within yourself that comes from the divine. And this week, with Mercury quincunx Uranus, and Mercury's at its detriment too. Remember that both times this year, we have seen the craziest, weirdest things go on this year was when Mercury was at its worst positions. And here it is. Mercury now is at its second worst position, Sagittarius. And this is not an easy one because the South Node's down here in Sag, the Sun's down here in Sag. And if you really think about this moon in Virgo, right, it's going to square the nodes while Neptune is squaring the nodes, and the Sun is coming into alignment with the South Node while this grand mutable cross is happening. And this is what I'm trying to say. This is the fractured reality. And whether or not you're willing to see through the cracks, or you are just somebody who buys what is ever just spoken or told to you through some sort of like, especially, let's just be honest, because it's Sagittarius South Node, just following like what you believe is some sort of idealistic character, and more importantly, not being able to see that that idealistic character is talking from the divine, the truth, and allows you to make your own decisions. Because this is going to be the weirdest part about it all, is the divine knows, and especially I believe this 100%, and I see this from astrology, that Saturn, Capricorn, yeah, of course, it wants to restrict, but it rules the laws, and it rules the laws of this essential truth, and whether or not you really are living in the ability to certify yourself in your own destiny, opposed to giving that away. Or if you're too afraid because you just want to stay comfortable in the most uncomfortable place of your life, this is a week that's going to be a big wake-up call, because this fractured reality is coming with this mutable cross. Like, the changes that you need to make in your life might seem crazy in order for you to feel better in your life. With Venus going to try Neptune, with Venus also going to quincunx Mars. So Venus and Scorpio, quincunx Mars, both are ruled by Martian energy because of the fact that they're in Mars-ruled signs. This is about action that you must take. This is also Mars and the Sun getting ready to trine, but no, not till next week. Well, not till I come back next week, right? We're getting so close to that Sun trine Mars. And what do you think that's doing? That is activating your courage. This whole week is going to be nothing but stuff that's going to test your emotion, your comfort, and seeing what's being stripped away from that. And then when that moon's in Leo, before it comes into Virgo, it's going to quincunx Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn. It's going to trine Mars. This moon is so clustered this week into the three signs that rule the summer, opposed all this energy or making aspects to the planets that are connected to the fall and the winter, right? So it's like really interesting to see this like moon wanting to feel the summer and the happiness. And what are all the energies that are trying to take that away from you? And not only in just your personal life, start with that first before you look out in the south node of the world. But start to realize that even though it's going to look and it's going to feel like this outside world is just going to try and take it all away from you, take away your personal sovereignty, and make you feel guilty for wanting to have that in your life because you are allowed to have that by God. It's not like, we go running around and telling what the birds to go do. But I guess, in the name of science, we love to go around and tag as much marine biology as we want and say it's for good without asking and seeing if it's okay. But, That's humanitarianism, Like, that's okay, and it's okay to wipe the blood away from that. It'll wash away in the water. Have you realized that's what's going on with you in your life? And then you're going to wake up on this week in the astrology and be like, maybe this Mars thing is real in Aries. Maybe I do have to know my identity that I create through my own self. And maybe with the square to Capricorn, it's about whether or not I give up my character of myself. I give up my laws from the sovereignty of destiny and give it away. And identify with the sheep herders and identify with even the dictators that want to dictate how your life is, yet don't follow it themselves. And be okay with that. That's a Gemini problem, right? That's like factual. That's like, so the people that tell you to do these things are at the same time not doing them, and put on a really nice smile and say it's, I'm sorry. And in the name of me being sorry, let me just continue to keep telling you what to do and then not do it myself. I would say that there's a lot of transits, but I would say that the biggest is this moon in the cross of the mutable cross in Virgo. So that means that we have to change our reality in some way, or our realities are being changed upon us. And it's about whether or not you still make those changes within yourself, because that means that moon's also going to quincunx over Mars. It's going to sextile Venus. You have to change your life for the betterment of yourself and your life, and you have to dictate your own world in your own reality when it's going to be this week told on how you should be living your reality. And you can already see it through all this Neptune square the nodes, right? Like anything else that does not align with this kind of false reality is just like non-compassionately too discrediting it or pushing you to the side. And true compassion of Neptune is willing to hear anything from anybody and what their truth is. That's when you know you're connected to the truth. You're willing to hear from every side. You're willing to hear from everything. You're willing to hear from people, right? If you're in a relationship with your grandmother and she wants to talk about how she's not feeling well about something in life, are you going to sit there and be like, no, you know what? I don't relate with you, Grandma. We're on different ages or we're on different levels. No, you're going to be compassionate. You might even have different political beliefs. You might even have different ideologies about a lot of things, but you would have to really test and see if you were the true character of yourself. If you were to just sit there and just tell Grandma and just be like, nah, I'm not going to listen to what you got to say, Grandma. I think you're dumb. No. You would listen, and you would be compassionate, and you would be willing to take everything away and be willing to hear. Gemini is about listening and hearing in both ears, both sides, both hemispheres of the brain. And it's important at this time because you're going to notice Gemini is the ruler of Mercury, and also so is Virgo, and that's where we're going to see the moon. Energy that moves around, energy that moves is very mercurial, and that's where the truth is. But everybody giving you information that's coming from a place of wanting to just, I don't know, be in a place that's just like lackadaisical, laughing about it, or even coming from a place that they have some sort of authority to you of how you need to listen to the information in such a way that you must follow this information, and if you don't, there's consequences for it. Sounds like a church to me that was from the old days of the 1200s into the 1300s. That was the last time Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn met in Capricorn. Sounds like that church. Sounds like that church that created inquisitions. Just like tracers. What's the difference between an inquisition and a tracer? I guess we're going to find out in 2021 with the craziness of all the Iranian energy. I think that the Pearl Harbor aspect, and one of the biggest predictions I've had is that all this stuff that we've been seeing in the world, and because now we are going to be at this anniversary, because we're going to see this moon for the last time post Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, I would say that, you know what? this is us starting to see what all this has really been about. And I must remind people as well at the same time too, that when it comes to the monetary system with Uranus here in Taurus, well, it's stopping. And as Jupiter and Saturn, Jupiter comes out of its shadow, that's the other big transit, right? And that's what's so funny is I didn't even title this with all this stuff because it's like not the stuff that you really, I'll be honest, you're going to see a lot of Instagram stuff either talking about this stuff after this video came out, or you're going to see them not talk about it at all because these are the transits of astrology that are going on. And that Jupiter coming out of shadow, that means it's back to speed. That means where Jupiter retrograde at 27 degrees in May has finally come out of a whole retrograde and gone through the shadow and ready to open up all these last doors of Capricorn. And it's meeting with Saturn there. And Jupiter hates Capricorn. This is its worst placement. It hates it. And not only does it hate being there normally, but it has not since 1960 had to wake up and go, oh, Saturn, the owner of that house, you're right in my freaking face. But I guess that's just like the sheep out there wanting to lick the teacher's butt and be the teacher's pet or the sheep herder. You changing that sheep herder's Johnsons for them too? That this is going to be whether or not you know how to define your destiny and you know how to have the courage to not let fear come in your way and know that beliefs and more importantly know that there is systems in this world right now that are trying to affect people in the monetary mainly, but there's a deeper reason for that monetary aspect. It has to deal with Mars and Aries. That's all I'm going to tell you. What is that rule? The god of war. And that's what everything's pointing to this week. Not only through mutable cross, not even through quincunxes from the moon or Venus, or sun ready to trine it, or even the nodes that start aspecting Mars too this week. As Mars makes it by the end of this week, that we get to the 8th to 1852, ready to 19, as the nodes are closing in on Mars. Moon going to quincunx Mars. Venus going to quincunx Mars. Sun ready to trine Mars. On the same anniversary. And you know what? This is going back almost 79 years, almost 80 years of Pearl Harbor. I wonder what really is coming. I wonder what this was all really about. That's the curiosity and being willing to ask questions. If you don't ask questions this week about everything in your life, for the betterment of your life, for you also to show integrity to yourself as a soul and to show integrity to God by asking questions on whether it's coming from God. Do you ask the question, hey God, is this good? Or do you just give away your energy so much that you're like, well, they said so that's the best way to play life. Did you check with God first? Did you check with God and see if that's not God's energy. God's not down here with an AK-47 pointing it at you, telling you, don't leave your house and don't do this and don't do that and don't do this. Not like you wake up in the morning and that's what God's doing, right? You think God's sitting next to your bed like, I got to tell you today, I don't want you doing anything. I don't want you seeing anybody. I don't want you having love. I don't want you showing affection. I don't want you showing love. I don't want to show any compassion. I don't want you to show anything. But show compassion for other people, but not anybody in your life. Don't show compassion to yourself either. Don't give yourself anything good. Don't make yourself feel good in any sort of way. Make some higher source feel better that thinks it's a higher source, but it's a false higher source. That's not giving you all the info, that has way too much facts and way too much data that is actually to be really, truly shown that is not truly factual of what's really going on. And if you're not willing to wake up to that, especially after this week and when the weird stuff actually starts getting hit, because it's always about the biggest worry, right? It's not the fear that you would think of that's being projected right now. That's the red herring. The biggest fear is what the plans are about what is the future going to look. That's Jupiter and Saturn leaving Capricorn, moving into Aquarius on December 21st, 2020 is when they conjunct. But don't forget that Jupiter and Saturn are about to conjunct here in Capricorn at 29 degrees. Not exact, but less than half a degree. So is it really just a Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, or is it really a Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn? And to be all, to twist you just one more way, if we follow Vedic astrology, this is happening in Capricorn. And I just want to just remind people that Jupiter only pays off for those that know how to create the determination of their place in society, determine their ability to reach for the highest places that they could be in their life on their own. And you're seeing payoffs to those people that you give away that energy to, and you give your own energy to them. And I was born with Jupiter. I'm in my Jupiter return year. I am a rat. Let's not forget this is the Chinese rat. You need to figure things out. You need to find that ox and work together and continue the race. But right now, there's a world that's trying to tell you to not find the ox and that it's bad to go find the ox so you don't finish the race. And that is the dumbest move of your life, because one thing that Sag rules, and I've never said this before, is the dunce hat. There used to be, when you used to go to school as a child, the kid that just didn't suck up to the teacher, or more importantly, sometimes just didn't know what he was doing or she was doing in school. They'd put a dunce hat on that kid. It reminds me of that movie Coneheads. It's probably all they did was put some fake skin over a dunce hat. Are you a dunce this whole time? Or are you afraid about being the dunce from a teacher that's forcing you to learn things and forcing you to inject things into your life, and you're too afraid to stand up and put that dunce hat on? For which reasons? Why? The real dunce in the room is the one that is able to just say, I will take and I will believe and I will do everything, whatever you say, even if they were teaching you the most horrible things in the world that goes against divinity. That's the true dunce. But right now in society, we're seeing the biggest, most and craziest things happen of putting dunce hats on people who are questioning, which is what the universe tells us with the North Node in Gemini. Or, if we use Vedic, Taurus, right? That are questioning if this is worthy of it. And you get a dunce hat for that? Be proud of your dunce hat for those right now that question. Be proud of yourself for those that question the value of whether or not the questions we're asking in life and whether we should go through with these things are worthy and are questionable of our divinity and of our sacred selves, and more importantly, of a destiny that divinity has for us that's powerful, that gives you the ability to do things, or that you are part of the system that is the true weird and bad dunce that is giving your power away to another that's taking it from you and really does not give a flying shit about you. And look at that in your own personal life first before you do that with the world this week. All right, let's do the charts. So, interesting week for the charts, I would say. And I'm going to show you this. I'm just turning this. All right. So, I would say this. I want to show you this moon and what I mean. This is December 3rd at 12:30 a.m. I'm going to change this real quick to actual time. Oh, yeah, that's where it's at. I'm doing this at 12:33 a.m. on December 3rd. So when you look at the angle from the Earth, now I want you to block out the sun. I wish I could, it always has me go to the sun. I wish I could change that. It's like, yeah, show that. It's like, yes, draggable, yes. It's almost like I want to turn the sun off for a second. Can't turn the sun off, though, in life. It's another big question, too, about the things that are going on. Star counts, yeah, UA size, auto. Yep. Okay. Well, I can't, but as long as we understand from Earth's point of view here, see, when you're looking out, you're looking at Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. Okay? And here's that moon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that Earth just a little bit forward, and that's what we're getting into. This is on Thursday night, West Coast time at 21:55, which would be about December 4th, about 1 a.m. East Coast time. But that moon is going to oppose for the last time, from Earth's point of view, all three planets in the same sign of the zodiac from a tropical point of view. And I'll get down, look at that. Moon opposed Jupiter, moon opposed Saturn, as Jupiter is now coming out of shadow. Pretty mind-blowing. But, from the sun's point of view, that conjunction already happened. We just saw Jupiter pass Saturn. Also, this week, Venus in Libra, but you won't show it on here. I have tried to do it, is Chiron in Aries. Venus, from the sun's point of view, is going to oppose Chiron. These are the feel-good things in our life, relationships and stuff. Are they really connecting with us in Libra, or are they opposing with the opposition over to Chiron? Not wanting to show up. It's interesting because here's Aries right here, right? And we have Pluto. We'll show you in the charts, but Pluto is exactly in square to that spot from Earth's point of view. If we come back way out, so you could see Pluto right there, right here, and you can see Aries right here. Oh, of course. But you can see that we are seeing a big square point from Earth's point of view. And that's what's hard, is when you see that kind of stuff, And if we look at things from Earth's point of view, and this might be an actually easier way to do it, we want to enabled, okay. So, wow, well, okay, there we go. So if we come a little bit more outside, and you see that line, okay, there we go. You can see what I mean with that moon that's going to oppose all three. So what I'll do is I'll do this real quick, and I'll just do it from here. And I'll add this here. I'll just do this with the big red. So here's the moon and Earth, and let's just look at that line of the moon. Oppose Jupiter, oppose Saturn, as you come off Pluto. But if we were to understand from Earth's point of view, this zodiac line right here, from a tropical understanding, is this would be Cap, this would be Aquarius, and that's where these two are moving on the line. Remember, they're going to meet on the line, but they're going to leave Pluto behind, and they're both going this way. And this grounds right here of Aquarius and Capricorn are both ruled by Saturn. Notice I'm doing this in red too. And when I say that the revolution that everybody's talking about, if we want to use traditional astrology, we want to use medieval astrology, Saturn is the ruler of what? The devil. Because the opposite, where Cancer and Leo is where we lived. Where we live, we're evil. And there is an evil out there, and a lot of people don't want to believe it. A lot of people want to, or don't see it. And that evil has always been to take away your what? Your sun, your light, and your emotions, and saying in the name of something that is non-divine, that you must sacrifice your light, your love, Leo, and you must sacrifice your Cancer, your feelings, your family, for a better good. If that doesn't sound like some sort of evil to me, I don't know what does. So make sure that you go to highvibe.tv so you can watch this and be a member. And you're going to be able to watch the charts as I do them, especially as I'm going to go through right now the charts of this week. And of course, I'm going to show you the Helio too. But this is the way that we do it. And I appreciate all your support. And of course, we're going to go to audio right now. if you happen to be on YouTube watching this as a premiere, not live. If you're on High Vibe, you can watch this live, or you just watch this the next day, and you get everything on it. On the apps, too, which are down below. All right, so are we good to go? Oh, you ready? Yeah, December 3rd, Thursday. Now, this is where that moon is. Cancer, 17 degrees. And if we could just keep this on here for like a good minute or two, because this is where I'm going to have to paint the picture for people. So that moon is getting ready to oppose the big three, right? This is at 5:49 a.m. So remember, the moon travels about a degree every 2 hours, about that, right? So by the time the end of Thursday comes, West Coast, it's going to start opposing Pluto. And so that moon, though, is going to square Mars here, right? So that's a hard aspect. The moon, though, done with the trine to Venus. Moon trine Neptune. So we have Neptune and Mars with the moon, and then the moon is going to hit Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn for the last time. And it's interesting to see Jupiter at 26. Because if we look at Jupiter, yeah, here it's going fast. It's starting to go fast. It hasn't got to its, true speed yet, but it has to get out of shadow to do that. And it's getting close to coming out of shadow. Saturn isn't even at its full speed yet either. But we also have what I was showing you earlier with Aries. Aries here is at 23 degrees. I'm going to have to erase this so people can see. So here's Aries, 23 degrees. That exoplanet that's out there. It rules, honestly, the feminine energy of chaos when the truth is not around. And Pluto is squaring it. It's almost like there's a fight going on with Pluto and Aries, too, because if you really think about it, Pluto was like, hey, I was the one that was the outer planet, the farthest away. Oh, no, they found Aries. It's almost like Pluto's trying to fight for control of that I am the one, even though it's ironic in science or planetary science, right? It's like they don't consider Pluto a planet, yet they consider Eris also not a planet. They give it these weird names, but they both, I think, are having to realize that the corruption or the hidden elements or the things of not being seen that are actually true, right? Because let's not lie, they're obsessed with Pluto. They'd spent enough time and energy to make sure that they took some pictures of that for you in 2018 when Saturn and Pluto were in Capricorn still, before the conjunction. They made sure that Voyager 2 made those pictures before it went off into the nothingness that we don't know about. And I would say that, looking at this sun, as this week, it's heading towards the south node. This sun this week is heading towards the trine to Mars. This sun has Mercury that's on its back trying to come to try and get information in the one place where Mercury has a hard time. It's too big. Sag is huge. Why do you think it's at detriment? Let's look at this. I just got to, some people are like, oh, this is not an easy time for Sagittarian energy. Look at this. South node and Sag, but the main thing is, look at this, -4. It is the worst planet in the zodiac right now, Mercury, and we are in a north node in Gemini. So when Mercury went retrograde at the beginning of this year, from February into March, it was in its worst sign of Pisces, but it was a north node in Cancer. So this is even worse. There's no retrograde though, but this is even worse for Mercury because north node is Gemini, and here it is dealing with it's the worst planet in the zodiac right now. And then the moon, unfortunately, even though it's in its home sign of Cancer, right? So it's got that +8 score. It's outdoing Saturn, that has all that power, that your personal life means everything to you. And it's about to get stripped away, as I show you. When you come to Friday, what happens? That moon comes into Leo, but that moon will finish in the opposition. And what I'll do, just to show you, to get to the exact spot, is we'll do current transits, and I'll move it by hour to show you that moon. You can keep it on this moon that will come exactly opposition right here. Here's 9:43 p.m., there's 10:43 p.m., there's 11, and then December 4th, moon opposed Saturn, and this is rough. Last time this is going to happen. You're not going to see You're not going to see it happen. You're not going to see these three big powerhouses, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, meet up. With a moon in opposition and the moon in its home sign. So when we come to Friday, the moon comes to a the moon comes to a -5 because of position, and Mercury stays at a negative, and Jupiter's at a negative. And Venus is at +0 just because it's in Scorpio. It's at its detriment. So all the benefic energies are really offline. When we're in a benefic Sun and Sag transit that everybody would like to say, no, it's malefic. And I want to say that this moon in Leo is going to have a tough time too with the squares of Venus that are coming on Saturday, but I'll show you it's going to square Uranus. Trine Chiron. This is like having to bite the bullet for love and have courage to heal yourself with love. You're going to have to do courageous things. That's the only way. But if you're a sheep, not going to work. The moon will trine Mercury and understand that, oh man, I don't know how. Follow your heart. There's no guru. There's no idol. There's no anything that's going to give you that info except you creating that info for yourself. That's what North Node and Gemini is about. You creating the info for yourself, not creating the belief off some other person's piggybacked beliefs. This is all while the nodes are getting closer. Look at that, 1955. The nodes are just sitting here. It's so weird. The nodes like to move. They take forever once they get in a sign to move, and then they go through the first decan, and then they get to the second decan, and then guess what? It just starts to just hang in the back. It just hangs there for a second, and then it will just start moving again. And it's all while Neptune stopped direct, squaring this and creating the illusion of all time. This is the great Oz. And it's starting to become intense. There's also Venus at 16 starting to make that quincunx over to Mars. That's not easy. It's going to be weird ways to get what you really want in your life and to make your life you want. Or you're just going to be like, that's too hard. December 5th, Saturday. There it is. Venus, 17. The moon is going to square in Leo over to Venus. So we're going to have some pretty, weird spots. The moon's not happy in Leo. And this is also preparing you for moon in Leo for the next the next year at least, right? That's coming up here. The moon in Leo will have to oppose Jupiter and Saturn in Aqua and square the Taurus stuff with Uranus. Not going to be fun times. If you really believe fun times in 2021, you have to go create that fun time by redoing what? Taurus, Uranus, and Taurus. You have to go create your own valuable world. That's going to seem crazy. You are going to have to connect when they're telling you not to connect. The opposite part that's trying to still hunker down in some sort of weird way. And that's the only way that you're going to find happiness. Believe it or not, Leo is going to be the rebel, not the Aquarian. The Aquarian is going to follow suit. Oh, okay, I will follow. The collective is going to follow. It's going to be those that follow love that are rebels. People who follow love and see love. Love is a very interesting thing. You know why? Because love starts from the self first. But when you worry about, I'm giving my love and I'm going to just suppress my whole entire reality for the love of some other alternative aspect outside of myself, how long does that ever work in your life? Oh, I'll watch your cat. Oh, you're not coming home for another 4 weeks? Okay, but I love you. This fucking cat is pissing everywhere. This fucking cat is doing this. I don't care how much compassion you have in your heart. You're not going to be happy. That's why Leo teaches you, if that's not what you want in your heart, then you don't do it. That is self-love, and that is not negative, and that is not bad. And with the moon squaring Venus in Scorpio, gosh, that has to deal a lot with moon and Leo square Venus in Scorpio is a lot of bad things of what you attach to emotionally with your happiness that doesn't give you back what you want. If especially with the Taurus aspect there, you don't understand how to understand your self-worth and value very well. Those are two energies that like each other that aren't really getting along well. And it can be ultimate passion and love and connected to life and feel that. But it feels like it comes few and far between. And especially in times like this, with Jupiter entering 27 degrees, starting to come out of its shadow. And look at it's running right into Saturn when it does that. We don't see that. Remember, Jupiter, Saturn take 20 years. Technically, it's been 20 and a half years. And actually, if I just go back, that Mercury at 4 degrees on Friday is looking at Chiron. And it's like, you need to find a way to heal your new stories that you write more than ever. Let's look at Sunday. The moon's going to finish in Leo and be on Regulus. And that moon will have trined, I forgot to bring that up. That moon right here on Saturday is trining over to Mars. We have to find courage to get what we want. And this moon's squaring Venus. Mars is quincunxing Venus. The moon's quincunxing Neptune. The moon's going to start quincunxing Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter. That's what we see on Saturday and Sunday. And so this happiness is definitely not going to be happy if you've given away your power to be the sheep, unless you're your own, not sheep herder to herd other sheep, but your own authority of your life and yourself. And so this one's going to be nar for people who don't know how to do that. Just going to bring that up. I think it's interesting too, as Jupiter's coming out of shadow on Saturday and Sunday, it's connected to especially the beauty of Juno, that this is about, I think it's ironic how they just tell you not to connect to people and not to do any of that shit, yet Juno needs to find Jupiter. That's the two that get married, right? And they're in a nice sextile. They're in Scorpio and Capricorn. It's like the underground marriage. To bring the power to Juno, when that happens, she becomes the goddess of all the goddesses. Jupiter finally finds his mate that he's been looking for because it didn't work out too well with Lilith. It didn't work out well. She went and peaced out on him. And it didn't work out well for Juno till she found Jupiter or Zeus. Right? Like that's the whole story here is this underground love, underground happiness. And Venus in Scorpio is very much that way. And that Venus in Scorpio is quincunxing Mars and Aries in its home sign. Sunday is a day where you have to look at your relationship life very extremely. And it's going to be where the Underground Railroad, like there was during Civil War times, or the underground of happiness has begun officially, fully. That you will not see it in the outside world no more for a while. Because by Monday, here's this cross, to be very frank and honest with you, if you don't know where that Underground Railroad is, to get out of the tyranny in your life, because this reality is not going to look like we want it to. And ironically, this is December 7th of 2020. This is the exact anniversary of Pearl Harbor. 16 degrees, sun. Mercury will be in Antares too. So let's just remember that's where the lunar eclipse was. Mercury's crossing the lunar eclipse spot of where the sun was with the south node. But the moon was going to square the sun exactly at 1616. And there's Neptune. That's making that cross. And what is there? The north node. Bang. And look at Black Moon Lilith finally this week coming into Gemini. It's been staying in Taurus and Aries for months. Now it comes into Gemini. You got to be a little bit crazy and you got to question a lot and you got to go create the simulation and you got to go create your own thoughts, what your own curiosity is, and not be afraid of that. And the purity of life is not based upon the opposition of some sort of delusion of how this sort of weird Oz is telling you how life is to be. And it's definitely not off the illusion of beliefs. It is only through, because it is squaring the North Node, and the North Node rules Mercury, and so does Virgo, that this is through mercurial times, and Mercury's in a Taurus. You need to find some crazy, powerful courage. And it is at the same token, the moon going to quincunx Mars. It is going to also be at the same time the finish of that, and the moon will connect with Venus that day in the underground as 26 and 27, and Jupiter's now out of shadow, officially. Some major big doors coming and crazy opening in your life, or it'll feel like every door is closed as Saturn reaches the last degree, 29 degrees of Capricorn, and there's Jupiter coming out of its shadow, and here it all is this fractured reality, or is it the reality that you have to put together yourself, that there is no instruction manual except through the one that God's delivering you in your internal self? So for those that live off going to IKEA and relying on the directions of the IKEA manual, this will be hard. If you're the kind of person who, I don't know how to put it together, they didn't give me the tool inside of here, you're afraid to walk into Home Depot and ask a question? How can I make this better? Or what tool do I need? And you're too shy about that? Or you're the person that walks into Home Depot and goes, I know where everything's at. I know what to do. You know how many times I've done that as a guy? Oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a badass. I buy the wrong thing, and then I have to go back and buy it again. Until finally, after I don't know how many years, I finally asked enough questions, asked other people I didn't know, and figured it out. I was like, okay, I need that drill. I need that thing. I need that. I need an air compressor. I need that. Oh, I tried to do all this stuff on my own, and I didn't have it. Because I thought I believed I knew. And I was delusional in myself and my own beliefs of, that I know what's going to happen because I'm trying to prove myself to something that doesn't exist. Is there an actual physical, tribunal of men that are questioning whether or not you're a man by how you walk into Home Depot? No. So, and I think there's something crazy about Sunday and Monday. There's something about these 2 days. I'm putting these in my star days. I would also put as a star day this whole week, especially because of these crazy transits that I'm bringing up that you're not going to talk. Nobody else is going to be really talking about it. I already guarantee you it. But I'm just saying that it's just there's something about the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and that Mars is being so heavily aspected, and that there's a grand mutable cross with the nodes. That means we're halfway through the eclipses, because that means the moon is at its 3/4 square point to the sun. Right? As it's waning. So you're going to be a waner, a whiner. That's what it's winding down. Here, winding down. What's what waning means? I'm waning down. Because when we come to Tuesday, the moon finishes in Capricorn, and this is the last time that the moon will be in an earth sign and trine Jupiter, Saturn. The moon will connect with Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn before they both move in the next couple of weeks to Aquarius. But this is the last time in Virgo, and this is the last time it's in trine. But while this trine's happening, this is where you'll feel like I adjusted my life to feel good because I actually gave myself character myself. I'm passing the test of giving my higher authority to the divine and to also that authority within myself that the divine and I speak for my destiny. And this is at the same token where we are seeing the moon that did finish a good aspect to Venus. But we are at the same time, and I forgot to bring this up, Venus this week, during my star days that I was saying, is in quincunx to the North Node. You have a destiny choice with your loves and relationships, and it's on the day that I bring it up about relationships. Venus is also quincunx to the North Node. I cannot make this shit up. Are you going to step into destiny to feel better? And it's going to feel like you're going to have to be on the underground. You think you're breaking rules, but what the big question is, are the rules coming from a place that are real or not? And you know what? I'm going to talk about that on full disclosure this week. I can't say that here in YouTube world. So that's why we're on High Vibe, because I wish I can give you more about this, but this goes public to give people the info, because I always do that. But I'm just saying, like, you got to really see. I'll just give you like one clue, because if I get in trouble for this, how could I get in trouble? The legislature in California has won a case against Gavin Newsom for overstretching his powers through the Emergency Act that he created, that he's not allowed to do certain things. And that's all coming back. And there's people all over California having to sign things, not only about recall, but actually about still that whole aspect. That is actual truth. But you won't hear it on mainstream. And it comes to the ultimate question, if you're an American, and I don't know about people in the EU, and I don't know about a lot of places anywhere else, unfortunately, because you guys don't have the same kind of built upon democratic republic that we do in America, that we have a constitution that trumps everything in every law. And this is exactly where Pluto is in America's chart, where Jupiter's going to be coming out of shadow, and where Saturn's just done finishing with. And you know, this is about getting to the bottom of that integrity. So when we talk about integrity, that's going to be the big question that people will be questioning years from now. And it's going to be, did people follow the integrity of the Constitution, or did people be willing to give rid of their rights to others that say that there's a better reason, there's a reason to get rid of your freedom of this, your freedom of that, and your sovereignty of the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness? And we end this week with that ultimate question in your own life. Doesn't matter what country you're from, because that is divine message. Life, the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of that happiness, right? Like, that's what life's about. And that's what Sag is about. And this is the story that we're recreating. And we're coming into next week. And I'm just going to be real with you. Fucking it gets nar. Because that Sun in the South Node are starting conjunct, while Mars is starting to make aspects to everything in the nodes. And it will be the Sun squaring Neptune while the Sun and Mars are starting to make their thing. And so it's going to be strength. It's going to be courage that you must have. And it's all going to be with Aries right there. And ironically enough, what does Pluto and Mars rule? You know, penetration. And what are they trying to penetrate you with? I'll just draw it for you, right? Even though it doesn't look like this because they're using some new thing. Squirt, what is that? With the little lines? That's Mars square Pluto. Is it coming from the good if it's squaring all this? And do they give it to where you have the choice to make for your own choice? If you believe in free will so much, then that's the question. Who's trying to take away that free will from you? Who's trying to take away your free will? But you have to find that you're the one who has the will, and you're the one who makes the choice of that will or not in yourself. Or else you might as well write a will for your freedom, your life, and your sovereignty, and possibly even your life one day from that. And Mercury's not in a good place. As I show you the end of this week, look at, okay, it's a +1. That's probably because it's getting closer to the sun to get some help, but it really is not in a good space. But Jupiter, now that it's even out of shadow, still at a -9, and Saturn's still ruling the noose, the nest, and here's Mars at +5, and here's, that's actually, Mars +5, and then Venus here gets a little plus. So, and I think that's why we see the end of the week, we prepare. The sun's starting to trine Mars. So the sun gets some power, and Mars is at +5, and Venus is at 21. It's going to start making aspects of Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn. And that's going to be a big test, because if we're not going to have the will to define our own things, then when it comes to this, and with Juno at 26 and Juno connecting with Jupiter as it's coming out of shadow, and with all this stuff, like, this is where you either give yourself the great glory in life and the great positivity or not. And or are you going to be stripped away of these things because of the choices that you make and allowing a false reality? And I think that this is exactly what Dolores Cannon was talking about. I think this is what the Mayans have been talking about of this time. This is the time to where there is alternate realities. There is alternate fractured realities. And seeing this mutable cross happen and these transits happen and this building up, it's going to get crazy as we are getting ready for another solar eclipse on the 14th of December. And that's what I'll be covering when I come back. I'm also going to be doing a video next week, and you'll see the stuff come up about it, about the end of 2020 and coming into 2021. How I did my video for coming into 2020. This is going to be my survival guide of 2021, and how we also are going to go through the Jupiter Saturn. Even though I cover in Climax 2020 about that, I'm going to go deep into understanding the weirdness that's coming of 2021 and how to get through it. So watch out for those announcements on my Instagram. Follow that below. Or just go to theleoking.com actually and sign up for my email list. You can do that. Or in case I somehow don't make it through social media world for bringing out truth. And because sadness, and I know maybe it's very Leo of me. Maybe it's because there's a Cancer moon as I'm doing this, and I feel very besieged, not by anybody in the world particular, but just by what I see coming in my own chart, is this Jupiter Saturn is going to oppose my sun at 0 Leo, right? So I have the biggest enemies going to come after me in my life, in my 6th house. So I'm just letting you know. I'm sending you my best. Write your own story. Don't let somebody write the story for you. If I can end with anything. But make sure that you remember, as you write your story, that you in your own life have the true divine that is there for you to have that pursuit of the true happiness in your life, the justice in your life, the freedom of your life, and just life itself. And that you must find the courage to go create that life, and you must, Mars and Aries defines it. You must create that title of that page, of that script, of that story, of that book. You must create the chapters in that book and what they're going to look like. And you must also find the underground railroad to your own happiness. There's no other place for you to go with that. And if you're going to be the dunce in the room, when really it's not the dunce they're trying to make you think, I wish you my best. And I'll see you all in the next Deep Astrology.